So, if you've been paying attention to this year's college football season, it has been one that nobody probably expected to go the direction that it did, especially when they did the projections at the beginning of the year for who would go where bowl-wise. Well, despite what happened this year, despite, surprises from every conference when it comes to teams, suddenly having a resurgence and, finally becoming bowl eligible for the first time in a while, if ever. This is basically quite a year to talk about. Because a lot of people projected certain teams to be in the playoffs, if not the New Year's Day 6. However, those teams are going to be going bowling elsewhere, if not bowling at all. However, the question is, with so many bowls out there, how many teams can get slotted in that are bowl eligible? Well, thankfully, CBSSports.com has decided to basically give us, a list of all the bowl eligible teams via conference that are going bowling this year. For example, the AAC has Cincinnati, East Carolina, Houston, Memphis, SMU, Tulane, and UCF. Those are the teams going bowling from their conference, and that's 7 teams. That is 7 teams. Now, from the ACC, we have Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina State, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Wake Forest. Those are the 9 ACC teams going bowling this year. Now from the Big 12, which I'm very close with because I used to live in Big 12 country, that being Lawrence, Kansas, Oskaloosa, Kansas, you name it. From the Big 12, you have Baylor, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, Texas Tech. So you have 8 teams there. 2 teams which will be in mostly the New Year's Day 6 games, if not the college football playoff, leaving the other 6 Big 12 slots to be filled, automatically. For the Big 10, you have 9 schools. You have Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Wisconsin. For C-USA, Conference USA, you have 5 teams. You have Middle Tennessee State, North Texas, UAB, UTSA, which is Texas San Antonio, and Western Kentucky. Like I said, you have from Conference USA 5 teams: Middle Tennessee State, North Texas, UAB, UTSA, Texas San Antonio, and Western Kentucky. Now, continuing on. From the independents, you have BYU, Liberty, Notre Dame, and UConn. That's right, UConn's going bowling for the first time in a little over a decade. That's pretty cool. From the Pac-12, you have 7 bowl-eligible teams. Oregon, Oregon State, UCLA, Utah, USC, Washington, and Washington State. From the SEC, they have the largest number of bowl-eligible teams at 11. They have Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So yeah, those are the schools that are going bowling from there. And then from the Sun Belt, you have Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Louisiana, Marshall, South Alabama, Southern Miss, and Troy. That is basically the names of all the schools from all the conferences that are going bowling this year. You have, in total, according to CBS Sports, you have a total of 79 bowl eligible teams. One away from the even 80, which is pretty pretty impressive. I think that might be the most bowl-eligible teams we have had. Now, as far as exactly where some of these teams will end up, I do have one listing here for the Big 12, because one of the surprise schools this year that are going bowling is Kansas. And again, as I mentioned earlier, being someone that lived in Big 12 country, when I lived in Oskaloosa and then moved to Lawrence, I'm very kind of close to KU itself, especially when I had friends from Oskaloosa attending KU when they did. Very close friends, that is. But basically, like I said, we have 8 teams. Now, according to, again, CBSSports.com, I think this is from them, TCU and Kansas State are pretty much set. No matter what happens in the Big 12 conference game this Saturday, they're pretty much set for the college football playoff and mostly the New Year's Day 6 games. They're pretty much good. We would hope. However, that does leave in the other 6 eligible bowl games for the Big 12. Alamo Bowl, Cheez-It Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, Texas Bowl, Liberty Bowl, Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and First Responder Bowl. But who's going to go to what bowl out of these 6 that will be filled by the automatic slotting? Well, again, that's where CBS Sports basically comes in. That's basically where they come in here. And the projection goes like this. Fiesta Bowl, which I think is one of the playoffs this year, will be TCU and Michigan. That's what they're projecting. They're projecting Michigan to win the Big 10 championship, and they're projecting TCU to win the Big 12. And the projected matchup would be those two in the Fiesta Bowl. The Sugar Bowl, they're basically stating that it's going to be Kansas State and Alabama. Now that's a matchup a lot of fans, no matter how you feel about both teams, have been waiting to see. I know I've been wanting to see it. Kansas State and Alabama, please set my DVR. Now we get into the other Big 12 automatic slots, if you will, for bowl games. The Alamo Bowl, easy for me to say, CBS Sports is projecting Texas against Utah, which I think is probably a good bet. That all depends, though, on the Pac-12 championship game this Saturday between Utah and USC. If Utah beats USC, then USC will probably get slotted in to that bowl game instead of Utah, and Utah will end up going to the Rose Bowl, almost automatically because of the win. All right, next up is the Cheez-It Bowl, Texas Tech and Florida State. That probably does seem like a safe bet there too. And again, a lot of these bowl slottings are based on the seeding and positioning, ranking, standing-wise within the conference. So basically, a lot of these matchups are these projected matchups are based around that. Then we have the Texas Bowl, Oklahoma State and Mississippi State. Again, probably sounds like a good bet. That will be what we get. Then the Liberty Bowl. They have projected Oklahoma and Arkansas. And this right here, the Liberty Bowl, this is probably one of the biggest, surprises of the year when it comes to one of the teams participating, because a lot of people had Oklahoma slotted in to basically be in a New Year's Day 6 Bowl, if not the playoffs. They had no idea that Oklahoma was going to go downhill, the way they did. Now, this could be just a one-year lapse. Oklahoma has done this before. I think it was not that long ago, a couple of years ago, I think. They did this before where they got slotted into the Alamo Bowl against Oregon, and they treated that like it was a big deal. So I have no doubt that they'll treat this one just as big when it happens. But we also have to remember that the following year, Oklahoma got back in to the New Year's Day 6 picture and into the playoff picture as well. So this is probably just a little bit of a slip-up that they go through expect next year for them to be in that conversation again, if not probably make that conversation of being in the New Year's Day 6, if not the playoffs, a reality. But yeah, they are slotted in based on the standings, in the Big 12 to take on Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. Then, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, CBSSports.com is projecting, not CBS Sports, but the LonghornWire.usatoday.com. It looks like CBS Sports, I do apologize. But LonghornWire.usatoday.com, these are all projections from them, and this was all within an hour or so of today, that being Sunday, the 27th of November. A lot of them are projecting these to be the matchup, again, based on the standings. And as far as the Guaranteed Rate Bowl goes, they're basically projecting Baylor and Maryland. Again, probably a safe bet based on the standings. And then they're also projecting for the First Responder Bowl, Kansas and SMU. That's what the projections are. So a lot of those will probably become a reality. There is no doubt about that. It's probably going to be a reality come to life when it's all said and done. But yeah, those do sound legitimate in my opinion. Those do sound legitimate in my opinion. Because again, if you have two out of these 8 Big 12 teams being bowl eligible. Not just being bowl eligible, but pretty much slotted in to be in the New Year's Day 6 bowl games, if not the playoffs, then I don't think we can argue one way or another that these projections by LonghornWire.USA.com and others is pretty much a fact to happen, become reality. So yeah, that's the projections for, as an example for what the conferences will have, sending, school-wise to these bowl games. Anyway, as I check the time here, and I do apologize. I do apologize if I sound a little off today. It's been a busy week at work, and I'll get into that probably in another video, but it's been a busy week. No doubt about that. But getting back online here, this is something I did not print out. This is from 247sports.com, and this is projections that they put out about 5 hours ago today, Sunday, November 27th. This is who they project. Again, these are just projections and not, and not basically locked in guarantees, although most of these probably are going to be based off of yesterday, yesterday's results as as they were presented throughout the day. Now, what are the postseason picks 24/7 have after yesterday, basically rivalry weekend? What do they see bowl projection wise? Well, here we go. This is mid-November, late November actually. We have, for the Fenway Bowl, which is finally going to happen actually, after a year or 2 year hiatus, the Fenway Bowl, we're going to have Syracuse and ECU. That's what they're projecting for the Fenway Bowl, is Syracuse and ECU. East Carolina. The Los Angeles Bowl, they have projected Washington State and Boise State, which, again, a lot of these projections are based on the standings where a lot of these schools are at, as far as the conferences are concerned. Despite being bowl eligible, these are all based on the standings and how they could be basically slotted, where, when it comes to bowl games this year. But yeah, they're saying that it's going to be Washington State and Boise State in the Los Angeles Bowl. And then, as I said at the beginning, it's going to be the projecting Syracuse and East Carolina in the Fenway Bowl. As far as the New Mexico Bowl goes, they have Wyoming and Southern Miss. The Cure Bowl, they have UCF in Western Kentucky. And then for the Bahamas Bowl, they have UAB in Miami of Ohio. For the Boca Raton Bowl, they have UTSA, Texas San Antonio, in Coastal Carolina. For the New Orleans Bowl, they have Troy in North Texas. The Idaho Potato Bowl, they have Toledo, San Diego State. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, and they haven't. Do they have an asterisk on this one? Yes, they do. We'll see what that is in a minute. For the Myrtle Beach Bowl, they have Liberty and Rice. Let's see what that asterisk is. Hold on, let me see here. I want to see what that asterisk is. I don't know. Is that an asterisk? It doesn't show what the asterisk is. Maybe that's just how they spell it. I don't know. That's weird. That is weird. But yeah, Myrtle Beach Bowl, they have Liberty and Rice projected. As of right now, the asterisk with Rice, I'm not really sure exactly what that means. I'm not sure exactly what that means or anything. That's kind of weird. Maybe it was a typo, I don't know. Continuing, for the Frisco Bowl, they have Utah State and South Alabama. Now, did I read off the teams from the Mountain West Conference? Did I put that in here? Or did I miss that? They must have cut that off. Well, I know the Mountain West Conference has some teams. I'm sure you're going to point that out. Utah State's one of them. So the Frisco Bowl, Utah State, South Alabama, that's being projected. The Lending Tree Bowl, Ohio and Marshall, basically a rematch of old MAC rivals. Marshall now part of the Sun Belt. Then we have the Gasparilla Bowl, Duke and Yukon. Independence Bowl, Louisiana and Houston. Armed Forces Bowl, we have Air Force and Rice. And Quick Lane Bowl, Buffalo versus 5-7 qualifier. So I'm guessing that's where Rice is being slaughtered, because that's another asterisk right there. We'll see what happens there. But it looks like Rice is in a situation where rarely a 5-7 team might get in, but it might also be in at large. We'll see. But Buffalo is slotted for the Quick Lane Bowl against whoever is going to qualify, out of that. Excuse me. The Hawaii Bowl, you have San Jose State and Middle Tennessee. Las Vegas Bowl, UCLA and Mississippi State. The Birmingham Bowl, Memphis versus Florida. Now, this is where things differ when it comes to the Big 12 teams. According to 24/7, they have Texas Tech in the First Responder Bowl against SMU instead of Kansas. I'm assuming that's because Texas Tech beat Kansas. Okay. For the Camilla Bowl, they have Appalachian State and Eastern Michigan. For the Holiday Bowl, they have Florida State and Oregon. For the Texas Bowl, they have Oklahoma instead of Oklahoma State against Arkansas. So they pretty much have the Liberty Bowl matchup in the Texas Bowl. And that's their projection. Whoops, got a little too far ahead. For the Pinstripe Bowl, they have Wisconsin and Louisville. For the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, they have Maryland against Kansas instead of Texas Tech against Kansas. So basically what they did here that differs from the projections by USA Today and Longhorn Wire there is they're saying instead of Kansas going to the First Responder Bowl, it's going to be Texas Tech instead, and Kansas will go and play in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I think what they're doing is they're assuming that the better the better sales pitch is have a Texas team play in Texas for the First Responder Bowl instead of Kansas. Then the Military Bowl, they're saying Pittsburgh against Cincinnati in the Military Bowl. The Cheez-It Bowl, they have Oklahoma State and North Carolina. So that would be pretty cool. For the Alamo Bowl, they have Utah and Texas. That depends again whether or not Utah doesn't win over USC this week. The Arizona Bowl will be Bowling Green against Fresno State. That's the Arizona Bowl. Will be Bowling Green and Fresno State. For the Liberty Bowl, they have Missouri against Baylor. I guess that's pretty cool and everything. But then again, it could be Kansas Baylor. That's what a lot of fans are hoping for. The Music City Bowl, you could have Kentucky. They're projecting Kentucky, Illinois. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, North Carolina State and Iowa. The Sun Bowl, Wake Forest and Oregon. The Citrus Bowl, LSU and Purdue, instead of LSU being in the Sugar Bowl or anything like that. The Gator Bowl, South Carolina and Notre Dame. The RiaQuest Bowl, Ole Miss and Minnesota, which used to be the Outback Bowl. And then we get into the big ones. They say the Cotton Bowl, they're projecting Penn State and Tulane. The Sugar Bowl, they're going with Kansas State and Alabama. That's one overall agreement, if you will. The Rose Bowl, they're projecting Ohio State and Washington, because mainly one of the big projections all throughout is if USC beats Utah, USC is going to go automatically into the playoffs. So because of that, they're saying that Washington is going to be slotted in to the Rose Bowl because of that. Against Ohio State, because the two champions of the conference, of those respective conferences, which they're projecting being Michigan and USC, will be in the playoffs. The Orange Bowl, they're projecting Clemson and Tennessee. And now for the playoffs. If you will. The Peach Bowl, they're projecting Georgia and USC. And the Fiesta Bowl, they're projecting Michigan and TCU. And then when it comes to the national championship, they're saying it's going to be Georgia and Michigan. So, yeah, those are the projections coming from 247sports.com. Again, there's a lot of differences, like if you're a Big 12 fan, when it comes to certain matchups and everything. But there is no doubt they are guaranteeing that a lot of these teams that are bowl eligible are going bowling. There's no doubt. Now, some might get left out, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. But we'll see. Again, the only one that's kind of in question right now is Rice and the 5-7 qualifier, which I think Rice ties into, if you will, when it comes to a possible bowl trip. But we shall see. Let me see what's going on here. This is Conference USA. Let's see. Yeah, Rice is down there with UTEP. I don't know what's going on there. I'll see what that's about. Hold on. It seems that yeah, it could happen. We just don't know yet. We just don't know if it's going to happen. But it's there's a lot of 5-7 teams this year apparently, and I guess it's all going to be based on who they feel is the more, I guess, attractive slot for the Quick Lane Bowl. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, overall, this is going to be an interesting college football bowl season, a college football bowl season, bowl mania as they would like to call it, season, starting in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about the upcoming bowl season and the projections as of this final week of the regular season. And we'll know more after the championship Friday and Saturday, I should say. Championship weekend upcoming. We'll know more about the positioning, the positioning of a lot of these schools after this week, and we'll just go from there. But I could definitely tell you this right now. A lot of these projections that have been made within the past couple of hours, if they're not past 24 hours, well, I wouldn't say 24, I'd say 12 hours at most. But basically a lot of these bowl projections that have been made within the past 12 hours, past several hours, I think are going to be right on the nose. No matter what bowl game takes what teams, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but I think there's going to be definitely, a lot of surprises. I don't think a lot of schools are going to get left out or anything. So, yeah, we just have to just sit back, wait and see what happens. But, just pray and hope that whatever bowl game our team ends up in, or your team ends up in, is, worth the invitation. So, we'll just go from there. But let me know what your thoughts are down below. Sci-Fi was all over the place here. I'm still kind of waking up. Like I said, I've had a crazy week this week at work, so it kind of wore me down. Just trying to take this time to relax and everything. Probably catch up on my laundry and all that as well later on. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about all these bowl-eligible teams? Almost 80 in total for, the Bowl Mania season. Who do you see going where? How do you feel about it? Let me know down below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Depending on whether or not Super Chats will be open. Again, depends on monetization. We shall see if I get that back. But for right now, live chat and comment in the kind of chat and the live chat, I should say, and comment down below. Also, check me out at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2, Cash App at BW Roses 98. Also support me at Patreon.com, so that's BW Roses with a $1, $3 tier. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get here on YouTube due to reasons. Also check me out at Deviant.com, so that's BVW1979. Also check me out at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Again, I do apologize for being all over the place here. Like I said, it's just been one of those weeks to where it's just finally catching up to me, and I'm just going to take this time to relax. But let me know what your thoughts are, and I am out.